Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. We are putting our arms around the people facing ongoing catastrophe in Southern California, but we also have to start putting our heads to why this happened and has gotten so bad so fast. And in doing that, we're going to have to deal with a political firestorm that has broken out despite the catastrophe that all should be concerned about. So let's start with the emergency. The basic headline is it's still getting worse overall. The Sunset Fire that we showed you last night on our watch that threatened Hollywood proper, that has been contained for now, according to officials. But there's also a new fire that just broke out on our watch. It's being called the Kenneth Fire. It's in an area called Calabasas. We'll have a map of it at some point, I'm sure. Right now, it's 50 acres, which is a pretty impressive rate of growth, and it is heading south toward populated areas. And this is the fundamental problem dynamic that they've had. What is the biggest problem? The wind. We all know that now. The winds have dropped, but not enough, long enough to make a difference, yet Herculean efforts by firefighters. There are reports of it all over. People refusing to take breaks, doubling their shifts, going out with other teams. They're from all over the state they've gathered, and now all over the country they're coming to help, and there will be more. Now, again, from my point of view, that should be everybody's obsession right now, is how do we get through this? But that's not how it is. There is a political firestorm, and it's been lit about who is to blame. Now, I get it coming from the people on the ground and the residents there who lost their homes, losing communities, losing a potential future, and they want to know. But a lot of this is coming from the outside as well, specifically from Trump. Let's just be honest about it, okay? Now, I see it as a completely open question as to, first of all, why did these even start? Were they acts of nature or arson or both, okay? And as Trump has certainly fueled fires of blame, he's not wrong to be asking the questions. He's just answering them as well, and I don't know that the answer's right, okay? And he has a new advantage, right? The flames that he's whipping up are being turbocharged by his personal Santa Ana wind in the form of Elon and his algorithms spreading anger about the fires, saying this is about bad politicians who just happen to be his adversaries. So let's break down what are the real questions and what should be left for online outrage. Have the leaders in California seize this moment? I think there's room for criticism, clearly. Mayor Bass was in Africa, okay, when these started, despite extreme weather warnings before she left. It's a bad look, regardless of blame, okay? And when she came back, she did not have the kind of command you want to see in these public situations.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this.
She didn't read the URL. You know, it's just like somebody saying, say name. And she says, I am, say name. It's a gaffe, okay? But it wound up becoming symptomatic of what I've seen as her not having control, as were her suspect assessments of containment early on. Fair criticisms. But the main question for the mayor is the budget cut that she signed off on for the firefighters and whether they contributed to the inability to fight these fires. Now, some people are saying there was no cut, there was an increase. There was a cut to 2024, 2025, okay? It was around $17 million. Now, fair pushback, that's only about 2% of the budget. Officials will say that difference of 2% came in cuts to administrative positions. But a local chief warned that he saw it compromising preparedness for events like these. We need more answers there. We're not going to get them right now, but they're legitimate questions. Did Governor Newsom mishandle the situation? Well, the answer to that is being captured in a single viral moment of a desperate California resident who is not wrong to be chasing after a leader for answers. Take a listen.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
to fill the hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I would. I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not.
Look, you can't blame somebody who is in a community that's on fire for being angry about it. And rational, irrational, doesn't matter. Her pain is real, and it's his job. That's what he signed up for, is to deal with her in that moment. And is that going to be a measure of the man? Yup. And who's that measurement supposed to be made by? You. Her, for sure. His constituents, these communities, the voters. The desperation for answers of why they were not protected from such a known threat. Now, facts matter, okay? The firefighters are not saying there's no water in the hydrants. They're saying, wasn't that there wasn't water available. They're saying that the communities with some of these, specifically Palisades, Pacific Palisades, that the infrastructure there of pumping was not set up for this volume of water at these altitudes of these hills in this compressed a period. But should the system have been changed over time? That's a legitimate question. So I don't buy that there's no water, okay? They've had record rainfall. It's been dry recently. And supposedly, all of the storage they had was full. So it's not that there was no water. There wasn't enough. Why? Legitimate question. Now, the big thing is, no, this is California. It's all environmentalists. They've skewed the policies in a way that make communities more vulnerable because they choose to help little fish and birds and want to keep trees instead of cutting things to create less fuel. Easy to say, not as easy to show, which is why a lot of these attacking from the outside accused with nothing behind it. There are infrastructure projects that were approved 10 years ago that have not been finished. That's bad. Why? Depends on who you ask. And there are different reasons, red tape. But here's my question. Which of those projects, I judge you fail as government when you approve something 10 years ago and you haven't even gotten them going. But were any of them relevant to what they needed here? It's easy to say, yes, I do not see that in the program plans. That's an open question. The hydrants, they're going to have to deal with it. And these communities have a right to get answers. And look, it's easy to blame, especially when you're not in control, okay? But you got to have a good basis for it. You can criticize Newsom. It's on his watch. It's going to be his blame. But the idea that, he didn't sign, the reason there's no water is he didn't sign this declaration that he was supposed to sign. It doesn't exist. It's a fake news. There is nothing that he didn't sign that he was supposed to sign in this situation, as I understand it, okay? Now, here's my focus and will be NewsNation's focus going forward. And we see this repeating. I saw it in Florida. I saw it in Carolina. I saw it in Oklahoma. Different national disasters, but the same main player, insurance providers. Okay? Now, I'm not playing to people who say it's okay to shoot someone in the head because you don't like his business. But insurers have started avoiding or pricing out situations they just don't want to deal with. Now, you can say, well, that's their business. I don't think it's that simple an answer. And a lot of providers dropped coverage for people who needed it right before the fires. This stinks to me. I have a former California insurance commissioner I've been working with for well over a decade on these kinds of issues. I trust his take. We'll see how he is on this tonight as a member of Congress. So we're going to go through the questions as we see them. But I really caution you to not just fall into this hate parade. It's too easy, and it doesn't help in this situation or to get us to a better place. And that should be the common obsession. So let's check in with what they need on the ground right now as they see it. California Fire Battalion Chief Brent Pasqua, okay? Checked with him yesterday. He and his men and women have, by all reports, been doing everything they can around the clock. I'm glad to see you safe I have been hearing from people who are with you and around you that you guys are just doing everything possible. What is your biggest concern right now?
Our biggest concern right now is those winds coming back. We had a great day today with calm winds. We got a lot of progress done on this fire. We got a lot of water on this fire. We could actually breathe and work hard today. So we like it calm like this, and we're hoping it stays like this. We know the forecast is for winds to come back, but right now it's still calm, and it has been all day.
Chief, I have a question for you. I'm sorry if it's a dumb question from a layman, but you have an ocean right next to you guys. Why isn't the salt water something that is used to fight these fires?
Right, I think it's just the distance to pump the water up the hill, up into the Palisades. If we could get something in place ahead of time, I think that would be a great idea. But as far as being mobile and carrying these pumps on our engines or having them remote, it's not feasible right now. But in the future, hey, you never know. This is a huge, huge body of water.
How big a problem are empty hydrants, or whatever the proper term is, and what do you account for that problem?
Again, I was talking to firefighters up there today that were mopping up some of the smoldering, damaged homes. And again, they told me they never ran out of water. They just had lower pressure during the firefight. And to me, it seemed like in that neighborhood, every hydrant was open. Every engine was trying to get water out of the whole town's hydrant system. To me, it just sounds like any system would be in shock over that. The crews I talked to, again, didn't lose water. They just said the pressure dropped during the height of the firefight.
I'm going to let you go, Chief, because I know you have to, but I know that a lot of people want to come and help. Do you need them? I know that a lot of your guys are going to be there for a long time. Are there things that people who want to help can send?
No, Chris, we really appreciate the offers, but what we like to encourage is send your donations, send your time, your volunteering to the shelters. Go help your neighbors in need. This is a time for community to come together, neighbors to help neighbors. We have everything we need. We're going to be here a long time, and we're here. We're up for the challenge.
And Brent, how's your family? How's your house? I know a lot. You guys all leave your own families, and many of them are nearby. Is everybody okay at home?
They are. My family's doing fine back home. Thank you for asking. I know you asked last night as well, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you, Chris.
Listen, you are the one who is appreciated. You guys are the angels among us, and you have such a horrible job in front of you. Anything you need, anything that's being said that's wrong, that you want corrected, we're a call away, okay?
I know you mean it too. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, brother, stay safe. They need you so much there. Thank God you're there. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right, let me bring in Captain Sheila Kelleher. Captain Kelleher, it's good to have you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
So, as somebody who has to think about what the department needs and how it's going, you know what you're hearing. You are not a politician. I am not asking you to be one. But from the perspective of the people who do the job on the ground, is what we're seeing now something that should have been avoided?
Like you said, that's a very loaded question. It's got many layers to it because you have aging infrastructure built in an area maybe that was never supposed to have houses in the first, the Indians and whatnot. They did a beautiful job setting up this beautiful neighborhood. But, I'm not an expert, but I'm sure some of those pipes in there are over 100 years old. And when you do have that altitude issue, when you have to go up those steep hills, it is going to be very challenging getting that water up there, especially when the pressure is low. So that all is a confluence of events that makes for a very challenging situation. And you add on top of that gale force hurricane winds, that's a tough one to stop.
The houses that have been right along the seashore, it's a bizarre sign. Houses with water running underneath them, but they're on fire. Why isn't ocean water used there? Are there aspects of firefighting that the lay people just don't understand?
Well, again, it's a pump issue, and it's getting the water to the fire. So we're set up where our pumps are into our fire engines. So that's the water that we have to use, and that runs through the hydrant. So unless you had some system that was set up so you could extract that water, you can obviously go in and dip in with the super scoopers. They pull out water, but it's just having that portable pump system, which is just not feasible for that type of firefight.
Is there anything that you guys are going to need to get this under control, how many days or weeks that is from now, that you don't have and that other states should know need to be provided?
Listen, from what I've been hearing and what I understand is we've got the manpower and the resources and the equipment coming to us. We're always up against those challenging terrain issues, the challenging infrastructure issues. But again, our goal is adapt and overcome, and we have a problem to solve, and we're going to do everything we can to do just that. So there's plenty of time to whine about what we didn't have, but it's time to just hunker in and get it done and work with what we have. And like I said, we've got a ton of resources coming from the western states. They're already here. If you look up and down this base camp that I'm at right now, I see people from all over the state and from all over the western United States. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, you guys, you've got cousins all over the place who just go towards the danger and want to help out people doing the job all over the place. I'm not surprised by that. I have one more question for you, Cap. I got a lot of people who believe that the reason they can't reach people, the reason that they haven't heard, is because there are a lot more people who died in this fire than we know about at this point. What do you know about recovery? And what do you make of the suggestion that we're going to learn a lot of bad news once these communities can be accessed to look for people?
I hope that's not the case, but in big tragedies like this, or big, catastrophic events like this, that is part of the formula, it seems like. Know that, too, is that cell service is really challenging. That's down. And as it takes a couple of days to get our arms around the damage assessment, we're going to have a better understanding and idea. But I do think those numbers are going to grow, unfortunately. But we have to wait and see. And again, work with what we have, not speculate till we know what we're up against. And just so you know, that fire out there, that fire out of West Hills is about 791 acres is what it's grown to pretty quickly. But I just talked to our ops folks, and they think they've got the dozers on the ground. They're trying to cut a line around it. They've got air support. So they're really hitting that infrastructure right where it comes up to the houses. So it looks like they're getting their arms around that one.
The West Hills fire is which one?
This is the one, the Kenneth fire.
Okay, that's the one around Calabasas. Right. They're worried about it getting near homes.
Yeah, the Victory Trailhead. There's a big park over there where we hike and we mountain bike. That's right by my house, actually. It's probably about 4 miles from my home. So, like I said, I just talked to the ops folks, and they said, hey, it looks like with the sun coming down, the winds are laying down just a little bit. They've got air support. They've got the dozers on the ground. So it looks impressive right now, but they're doing a great job keeping it away from the homes at this point.
Not to pry, but 4 miles from your house, are there people there? I know you're caring about everybody else, but is everybody going to be okay at home?
Yeah, right now, the way the winds are blowing and the way it's set up, we're safe. We're good. My family's over there. We've got 14-year-old twins, and they've got their friends hunkering down over there because the way the fire's moving is a little bit away from us, so we're good.
Man, must they be so proud of their mother. I hope they are. I hope they're watching right now. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I appreciate you doing the job. Same offer as I made to the chief. If there's something out there that needs to be known, if there's something out there that's wrong, I'm a call away, and we'll put it out and we'll fix it.
Listen, sir, I appreciate the way you addressed it, and we got plenty of time to finger point, but right now we got to fix the problem, and to put the attention on that, we really appreciate you.
Hey, listen, you are the ones who deserve the appreciation. If there's anything we can do, NewsNation's there. Cap, be well. I wish the best for you and your family.
All right. You have a great night. Thank you.
You too, Captain Kelleher. She's going to have a long-ass night is what she's going to have, just like last night and the night before and for days and maybe weeks to come. They are angels among us. Now, let's discuss how we got here, what should be different, and how it should be discussed, okay? Bill O'Reilly joins me now, and I'm going to hold him over the break so we can really cover a lot of these concerns that he shares as well. Thank you for joining me, big man. I appreciate it. So what is your take?
I was there 8 days ago, driving right through the area. I was driving through Calabasas and Pacific Palisades, and it was tranquil, and everybody was happy, and it's just stunning. In the space of a week, that your whole life, if you lived out there, can disappear. It's biblical, almost, and it's a message. So I'm going to address the general picture, if you don't mind, Cuomo, tonight, because I think investigations have to be done about water pumping and all that. And but the general picture is this. Progressive governance does not work. And California is a mismanaged state from almost top to bottom. And the fault lies with the voters who elect people like Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, but Newsom not so much, because Newsom genuinely, I think, wants to do a good job, but he's trapped by his progressive ideology and his support system. Now, let me back that up. In New York, where I am right now, we have progressive leadership, and they passed a bail reform law that put hardened criminals back on the streets, and it has killed thousands of people. Thousands of people are dead because of the bail reform law. When you put violent people back on the street and don't punish them for criminal activity, you're going to have more crime. Everybody knows that. Yet the voters of New York put these people in office. And the same thing in California. So everybody in California knows that the ecosystem there is dangerous and fragile. Everybody knows there are going to be fires. There are going to be mudslides. Pacific Coast Highway is closed now, south of Big Sur. Everybody knows that the ocean is ferocious, and this is a state that is going to be besieged all the time. Nothing has been done by the progressive leadership to prevent any of it. In 2014, Sacramento passed a law that provided money, bonds, to build 7 water plants, water storage plants across the state. But there was a rider attached to it.
Hold on one second, Bill. Bill, I want to hear about the rider. Hold on. Dusty, monitor Mayor Bass. Let me know if she's saying anything that changes our understanding, or if she says anything that doesn't make any sense about our understanding. And I'll dip in there and you'll tell me what it was. But Bill, continue until then. Okay. So there's a rider attached to that 7 water storage plants that says they can only be built if they benefit the, quote, ecosystem. So they weren't built because the environmentalists challenged every single thing, every construction site, everything. And Newsom allowed it, didn't challenge it, didn't publicize it. The mayor of Los Angeles, as you accurately reported, cut $17 million from the firefighter budget, even though her own hand-picked fire chief said, don't do that. It's too risky. The mayor did it anyway and had plenty of money to not cut, because $1.3 billion a year Los Angeles gives to the homeless to enable people to remain drug addicted and live in the street. Why would they kick it? Why would they try to get work or a home if the state's going to support their lifestyle of getting high? $1.3 billion a year. And they're cutting firefighters? This is the kind of governance you want? Progressive leadership leads to destruction and death. That is the truth. And that is what we are seeing played out here right now. Bill, will you do me a favor? Let me get in a quick break. Can we come back and continue the conversation? I want to talk to you also. I want to come back at you on some of that, but also I want to talk to you about the insurance issue and how you've seen it move over time. We good on that?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Let's take a quick break. 4 minutes and 5 seconds. We'll continue this conversation. What works for me, what doesn't work for me in that. But then what we're definitely going to see. I know a lot of these people have money, and a lot of them don't. And either way, if you're paying for insurance, you should have it. Okay? And I think that it's going to double the size of this catastrophe for people in terms of what they have to deal with. All right? So we'll be there and we'll give you the latest based on what the mayor was just saying and what we understand from the ground. I've got people running to get into position of the latest fire right now, and we'll bring them to you as soon as they're there and safe. Welcome to News Nation. I'm Chris CUOMO. We're continuing coverage of what's happening in California. I'm with Bill O'Reilly. We've been discussing, of course, we all got to be together on helping the people on the ground get through right now. But we have these questions of why are they dealing with this? Could it have been avoided? What has to change? Bill is making the point that he believes the politicians involved, specifically progressive ones, have created policies that preference the wrong people and have created vulnerabilities that are now destroying communities. With Karen Bass, the mayor, I smell what you're cooking there, Bill. She was out of position when this happened. Yeah, it's not fair. She went to Africa. How could she know there was going to be fires? The National Weather Service had warned of extreme conditions before she left. She made a call. It was the wrong call. She came back. She does not sound assertive and in control the way people expect in these situations. She did cut the budget. There's a discrepancy about, 2% cut. Where did it really go? What difference would it make? Let's put her to the side. Newsom, I think, is more of the examination than you're giving him. There's been a consistency of policies that favor, whether it's power line companies or infrastructure, over the removal of fuel for these communities. That's something he's going to have to speak to. But those infrastructure projects you bring up, here's my problem with that part of the blame game. It's bad that they didn't do the infrastructure projects when they were approved by the people 10 years ago. I'm with you. I don't think any of them had anything to do with the LA water system or the forest management that would have made a difference in these fires. So why blame that now?
Because with high tech, you can irrigate places that are very dry and provide a layer of protection for the people who live there. Irrigation has made California the world's most productive grower of food. You can irrigate dry places if you have the stored water. And you can do desalinization, taking salt out of the ocean water and using it to protect citizens of California. None of this is done because Newsom and everybody else in the legislature in Sacramento are too busy virtue signaling about global warming, about smelts, about snail darters, about eco this and eco that. It's insane. And this is what progressive leadership brings, that they're not problem solvers. Look, I know a lot of people who live in Malibu, Pacific Palisades, all of that. They can clear brush on their private property. They can do that. They take 2 steps off their private property, say they have a forest adjacent to it, they can't touch it. They can't clear it. That's what Trump was yelling about years ago when he said you have to manage your forests there in California, and you don't. There's no forest management, so if there is a lightning strike or a fire, it's going to be a tinderbox. That's true. And Newsom doesn't do anything about it. That's the definition of a bad leader. Now, insurance, very important. Very important. All the major insurance companies are raising prices everywhere in the United States on cars and homes to pay off the catastrophes in Florida, North Carolina, California, on and on. Everybody's getting hosed, okay? But in California, they have a very robust insurance commission. It's headed by a guy named Ricardo Lara. He is the commissioner. He has done nothing, Cuomo, nothing, all right, to negotiate with State Farm, Allstate, all the big agencies, and say, we'll give you a tax break if you stay here instead of pulling out, which they are, and help the folks. That has not happened. And the reason is that all the big corporations are bad for the progressives. The insurance companies are horrible. Negotiate with them. You can do that. The California Insurance Commission is powerful. And Newsom knows that. Why aren't you negotiating to bring insurance premiums, affordable ones, to your 50 million residents? Because again, they don't care about it.
I don't know that they don't care.
They don't care.
I think
they don't care. If they did, they'd solve the problem.
I take your opinion, but here's why I don't take your assessment of the motivation. If it were that simple, that the progressives don't care and the conservatives do, then DeSantis wouldn't be facing the same problem in Florida. Well, but I'm saying,
look, I didn't say
I don't think it's a progressive
do.
problem. But I'm just saying I don't think it's a progressive problem. I think it's an insurance leverage problem because Florida is getting crushed by the industry unfairly as well.
Of course. But it's all about leadership and negotiating. But if you look at the states that are run by progressives, California is a one-party state. It only has one party, a liberal Democratic Party. What problems do they solve? None. All right? San Francisco, L.A., fires everywhere, crime everywhere. They don't do anything but virtue signal. And I'm not saying that Florida is a magic kingdom. All right?
I'm saying they have the same problem with insurance.
There are ways. Yeah,
but I'm saying
that there's not even
left
a negotiation
or right, the insurers are winning. But I'm saying that I think that, look, I'll take your point about the politics. It doesn't really matter to me, and here's why, Bill. I think that there's a problem with the corporate allowances when it comes to the insurers right now that has to be addressed. Probably, I know states have the control over insurance, but there's got to be some kind of federal avenue here. Because, look, you and I both have friends in Florida. We both travel there on a regular basis. They're getting priced out because of their insurance. For their mortgages.
They're getting killed.
And they're getting killed on their condo fees and all these things because the insurers. I'm not blaming DeSantis. I'm saying he hasn't been able to do anything about it either. I think these companies are way out of control.
I agree, and it's up to DeSantis to negotiate deals that help the citizens of Florida, just like it's up to Newsom to do the same. Federal government cannot control the insurance industry. It can't.
True.
All right, there's 50 states. Each state are different. It's the governors. Okay, but what I'm submitting to you tonight, Cuomo, is in California, I haven't researched Florida. In California, they don't even try. All they do is virtue signal. When you have a police chief in the second largest city in the country telling the mayor, look, you cannot cut the budget $12 million. We need more firefighters. We need more equipment. And the mayor goes, blank you, I'm cutting it. You got a problem. Okay? That's just the truth.
I hear you. Bill, I appreciate your assessment of it. The insurance thing, we're going to be able to talk about it more because we're going to see it play out here. Well, I see it in every story now. Every time there's a problem, the insurance companies are like no longer in the business of losing money. It's like they only want to insure places where they're not going to have to pay anybody. All right. Thank you very much for coming on.
One more point.
Yes, sir. Please.
All right. One more point before Dusty decapitates us. The states can fine insurance companies a lot of money. Okay? So they have power, the states. But again, it's like, well, it's too complicated. I really don't want to get involved with that. No. All right, thanks for having me on. Happy New Year, and let's hope next week is better.
Oh, God willing, God willing. Bill O'Reilly, thank you. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Brian Enton is moving into position, okay? This fire, you got to keep your eye on it. I was wide-eyed, not just because Bill was making such brilliant points, but because this fire has just blossomed while we have been listening to him. And the problem is, if it keeps moving, it's the same scenario as last night. a really populated area where people will not be able to get out if they haven't already, and they haven't. Brian Enton's on his way there. And a former commissioner of insurance in California listened to my conversation with Bill. He's also served at the state and federal level. He's a member of Congress. He says he knows what's going on, and there needs to be some corrections. Next. Scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of planes and helicopters around. We're near Calabasas. You mentioned, I mean, this thing was like 10 acres a couple hours ago. Now it's up to 960 acres. This is sort of a staging area right here. This is as close as we can get. It's been moving so quickly. It's been moving south, now mostly in Ventura County. Xander was out here. You evacuated. I just want to ask you real quick. You said they showed up quick this time, very fast.
Yeah, they showed up in about 5 minutes. I heard 3 helicopters fly over my house pretty low. And within 2 minutes of that, they had a bulldozer, couple fire engines, about 12 or so, and then they had about four helicopters and about 3 planes.
Okay, yeah. It's going towards Malibu now.
Yeah, it's going towards Malibu Canyon Apartments, Malibu Canyon Estates.
Okay, so Chris, we're going to keep an eye on it. Again, over 900 acres now, and moving quickly. Hopefully not threatening any homes at this point, but there are mandatory evacuation orders in this area.
Yeah, the problem is the prevailing winds are taking it in that direction. So, Brian, you know the deal. You get in my ear, you'll be here right away, okay? Stay safe.
Thanks.
All right. Now, I want to get back to the insurance, okay? You're going to start hearing estimates about this being in the trillions of loss. So, how much of it are people going to be made whole for? Thousands and thousands of homes are going to be gone, right? Yeah, some of them are big shots with money. It doesn't mean that they don't have insurance that should be paying, and there are a lot of people who are going to need the insurance, okay? Just 2 facts. The insurance company, when you put property and casualty along with health insurance, you have one of, if not the, most influential, finance and tech are there too, but when it comes to people who sway politics, hundreds of millions this industry spends every election cycle. Hundreds of millions. Guess how much they spend in lobbying on a yearly basis? Billions. Now, lobbying is this, where do you think the money's going? Okay. Now, on the ground, we already know that one of the top insurance companies scaled back or completely cut coverage to California homeowners after the 2017-2018 wildfires. This past summer, insurance companies, big ones like State Farm, dropped 70% of their customers. Guess where? Pacific Palisades. What do you think? They didn't know the risk? It's exactly why they did it. One family who was dropped by their insurance company just lost everything, right? Just like the insurance company thought might happen. He's going to be joining me. But first, I want to talk about the insurance from someone I know and trust, member of Congress, but was in charge of doing what Bill O'Reilly was talking about, which is overseeing California as a state with insurers, okay? John Caramendi. John, thank you for joining us. First things first, family, friends, how's everybody doing with the fires?
Well, we're all in Northern California for the most part. We do have in-laws in the Southern California area, and they are in jeopardy. The fires are not out. The embers are still there. The winds are going to pick up in the next, maybe tonight or the next couple of days. And this could resume and probably will in certain areas of Southern California. So millions or hundreds of thousands of people are at risk in Southern California as a result of the annual Santa Ana winds. And now we've seen the effect that can have on a community that's been there more than a century.
Yeah. You and I are not strangers to each other. We have been discussing the responsibilities of states and officials like you with insurance, whether it's health or property, literally well over a decade. I now have renewed concerns that these companies are getting out of the business they're supposed to be in, which is protecting people. And that this catastrophe is going to take on a new dimension because of all the people who got dropped. And should the state have a responsibility to do better with these companies for people who are getting hit right now?
The answer to your last question is absolutely yes. In 1988, as a result of an insurance crisis that had been ongoing in California, the voters of California passed what is known as Proposition 103, which, among other things, called for an elected insurance commissioner rather than a commissioner that was appointed by the governor, who was always from the insurance industry. I was the first elected insurance commissioner. 8 months after I took office, we had the Oakland Berkeley Hills fire, 2,000 homes burned, and I learned a lesson. The insurance companies were refusing to honor their policies. They were refusing to pay claims fully, adequately, or timely. So they got hammered. We wrote regulations. The legislature followed up with laws that require the insurance companies to pay claims properly and completely. Now, the insurance commissioner has the responsibility to see that that gets done. And there's going to be a burden and a task that he must do, because we're talking about a very difficult claims situation in which there is nothing left except on the video cameras. Everybody has a cell phone. Hopefully, many of those people actually took an inventory of their home with their video and went around room to room, closet to closet, and explained what was there. If they didn't do that, perhaps they have a birthday party or some other event that will provide some information about what was actually in that home now that is a small pile of ashes. So the claims issue is going to be here and now. Beyond that, there's an ongoing insurance crisis in California and in Florida, as you discussed with Mr. O'Reilly, which, by the way, I've never heard such garbage in such volume, so loudly and inaccurately displayed by anybody other than what Mr. O'Reilly did tonight. Put that aside for a moment. There is an insurance crisis.
John, don't just take a smack at him. What did he say that you disagree with?
I'd rather get back to insurance. The fact of the matter is it's not a progressive policy. The Santa Ana winds have been in California for thousands upon perhaps 10,000 years. What's happened is we have built cities in areas that have always burned from the mountains to the ocean. And what we have seen today is the last 2 days is the results of the annual Santa Ana winds picking up a fire that some spark somewhere and roaring down the mountains right through a village, right through a community, and stopping at Malibu, the ocean. It'll only stop when the wind dies down or there's nothing left to burn. So that's the reality of what has happened here. Now,
but
how do we deal with the insurance crisis going forward? It's not.
I'll talk to you about the insurance. I'll talk to you about the insurance. But John, what I'm saying is
the insurance issue.
I'm with you, but hold on a second, John. Hold on, just give me a second on this. Sure. Why is it wrong to pose a criticism that, yeah, you're right about the Santa Ana winds, of course. You're right about the burdens of development, of course, and the geography, of course. But that's why it's about what policies do you use to manage the risk that you can, and how do you deal with the fuel. And California has been known to favor the environmentalists over people who want to be more aggressive with how they deal with protecting against fires. And then you see an event like this. Why is it so crazy for people to say, well, this is what you get when you don't do enough to manage the fuel that you're going to have in these fires? You make yourself susceptible to this. And if you were more aggressive, pushing back with the environmentalists, you might be in a better position.
Let's get to the facts here. There has been in the mountains of Santa Monica, San Gabriel Mountains, in this area, an ongoing fuel reduction effort that's been made. There are fire breaks across the top of these mountains. There are efforts underway for the last 3 decades that I'm familiar with to reduce the fuel load, including brush removal, as well as using goats to reduce the fuel. Now, the fact of the matter is we've had 2 very wet winters. Prior to this year, we have had no rain at all for 8 months in Southern California. And so you have a very excessive fuel load as a result of the previous year's rains, and now we have a drought. and a fire started. It may be determined why and how that fire started. That's something that'll be learned in the days ahead. And then you have the Santa Ana winds, and now you have a major catastrophe. That's what's happened. Now, the fuel load throughout the state of California is being managed. About 7 years ago, working with the representative from Idaho, we wrote a law that changed the way in which the National Forest Service manages its money. It now has two accounts. One account is fire management, which previously consumed nearly all of the money that the Forest Service had. And a lot of this land that is burned in Southern California today is U.S. Forest Service land. There was a second pot of money that we created that is for forest management. That's been in operation for the last 6 years now. And that has resulted in fuel reduction programs throughout the national forest and in state areas. In my own district,
all right, John,
there's an effort underway by the Park District to reduce the fuel loads. This is ongoing. However, when you have a situation that has occurred in Los Angeles County with the Santa Ana winds at Category 3 hurricane force winds, and a fire erupts, it is extraordinarily dangerous, and it is impossible to stop until one of two things happen, or maybe both happens. There's no more things to burn. Look at Malibu Beach, and the wind has died down.
I get it, and I appreciate you bringing in the additional facts to give a picture as to why we're in this situation. I appreciate it. I want to get back to the insurance, and I want to bring in Chad Comey. You heard me introducing about him. He's a musician from the Palisades. He lives with his parents who are disabled. The condo burnt down. They have no fire insurance, no home insurance. And I want you here for him, John, because you're going to know the situation better than I. Chad, I'm very sorry to hear about the situation. How are your parents doing? How are you holding up?
Thank you. I mean, I'm devastated. It's cliche to say that, but I'm angry. I'm sad. Regretful. I'm thankful. I'm angry because people like Bill Riley will say that criminals are walking the streets of New York. The real criminals are the insurance companies. The insurance companies did not take care of anyone in our neighborhood. They do not have a history of taking care of people in that way. Insurance companies' claims are routinely denied. I don't frankly know how to begin to rebuild in light of what is going on right now. I've got nothing. I got 3 guitars out and that was it. No music equipment. I'm hoping to replenish my creative drive in the coming days. But right now I'm just shaken, and I'm frustrated by the lack of preparedness displayed from top to bottom. There's very little. You can use the bully pulpit to hold insurance companies accountable and things like that, but they pulled out of the state. They abandoned us. We're left here to pick up the pieces, and it's heartbreaking and infuriating.
John, what do you say to families like Chad's and the Comeys who were denied the insurance that they need living where they are?
Unfortunately, there's a problem throughout the state of California. The insurance industry canceled thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of policies for what they thought was a reduction of the risk. They left the homeowner with no place to go. There is a program that is available. It's called the FAIR Plan. We built that up in the early 90s, and it does exist today. And it is the insurance of last resort. It is a bare bones policy. I don't know the exact circumstances of this very terrible situation. It may very well be that that they were unable or didn't know that they could get FAIR Plan insurance. The insurance company simply sent them a letter saying, as of this date, your insurance is canceled. That's reprehensible, but it's far too common throughout the state of California. Now, the claims issue is going to be the challenge that every one of these homeowners is going to face.
Yeah.
That claims issue is going to be extraordinarily difficult. I would suspect that this gentleman has no idea how he's going to be. Well, he has no policy, but others
he doesn't have a
policy.
claim issue because the company cut them off right before the risky period. John, drink some water. You're coughing.
Correct.
It's okay. I'm going to run out of show here anyway, but let me do this. Chad, I'm going to shoot you my text number, all right? And I'm going to stay in touch with you as you're trying to figure out what to do with your family, and I'll help you through what programs we can find and how you can help your family. John, put a button on it.
President Biden has declared this a national disaster area, and FEMA is on the ground. Federal Emergency